Takeout checks, we talked about that. Again, I'm not going to go through all of this. It's in your rules. You can read it. Again, leading with your head or your shoulder. You know, Rich demonstrated, you know, what U.S. Lacrosse talked about. He sits on the board of directors, you know, that basically put together in conjunction with the officials, you know, the book that's in the magazine. So again, you know, that's what we talked with the officials today about the takeout checks with leading with the shoulder, intent to take the guy to the ground. So again, read it, talk to your kids about it in practice, because we're not going to be able to be the Helen Keller miracle workers on Saturday if you guys haven't worked with them, you know, in your practices. Checks involving the neck or head. Again, this is what we talked about before. You know, the penalties really are going to be, you know, the 1 minute non-releasable, and this is new right here. A flagrant foul. So if some kid lines some kid up and takes him out and just blows him completely up, right? And then he decides, and now he's pissed off again, and he's going to go out there and pull that same kind of knuckle-headed move, he's done for the rest of the day. And if he's done for the rest of the day, you know, that means if there's a parent or a guardian, he's got to leave the field. You know, if there's not a parent or guardian there, then he can stay on the sidelines, but he can't come back into the game. So again, second, you know, flagrant foul, you know, he's done, and he's ejected, and he's going to sit the, you know, the next game. So he's going to be removed, and he's done. So again, you know, let's make sure that you as a coach know who your players are. If some guy's just having a rotten day or whatever, maybe you don't want to put him back out there. Again, I hate to, you know, take playing time away from these kids, but, you know, the ramifications are not good. So again, you as a coach, manage your kids, manage your sideline, you know, and let's really be careful so we don't get the knucklehead out there, you know, pulling some kind of crap that is going to cost him. So again, what I would ask you guys is, you know, and again, the same thing that happened in the game yesterday with Regis. You know, I'm in the box, and, you know, these guys are going, oh, that's a great hit, you know, way to go, you know, he blew that kid up. It's like, fellas, seriously. This dude's laying on the ground. It's a scrimmage, for crying out loud sakes. It's like, you know, it's all about the sportsmanship, you know, and how you're going to teach these kids on the sideline. You know, it's not acceptable. I mean, if some kid gets hurt, that's not good. You know, and again, we need to be a little bit tolerant. You know, again, these kids at young ages are physiologically different. They don't have the peripheral vision. They can't see some of this stuff that comes out the other side, you know, because it doesn't develop until they get to be 15, 16 years old. So, you know, again, let's not have that, you know, the taunting, you know, great things, you know, way to go, you know, he killed that kid. Again, help me help you. You know, again, if he goes out there and, you know, again, it has to be two. You know, he could potentially get ejected with a spear. You know, that's an ejectable foul, right? If he leads with his head, spears the kid and takes him out, he could get ejected, right? So again, to me, safety is the #1 priority. Help me help you, and teach your kids in the practices of what's acceptable contact and what's not acceptable contact. If you get, just like in high school, if you get ejected from a game, you sit the next game, you don't go out there. So again, it's punitive. So again, you know, help us help you, you know, and the officials are going to take that down. You know, all the unsportsmanlike conduct penalties are going to get reported just like in years past. That's not new. So again, let's be careful out there. You know, like they said on Hill Street Blues, let's be careful out there. This to me is important, and this is probably where the conduct foul gets used in most instances. And I see Mr. Pratt over here chuckling a little bit because sometimes they just can't help themselves. And I've got pretty thick skin. But again, help me help you. Talk to your assistant coaches, and let's only have the head coach talk, right? The assistant coaches run the sidelines, run the substitution box, but, you know, let's not talk to the officials. Again, what I've asked my guys to do is, you know, talk with the coach, say, hey, you know, can you tell your coach to mellow out over there? Again, let's put ourselves in a different shoe, right? For me, that's pretty easy to do. You look at a 15-year-old kid, right? Anybody over 21 is old to that kid. So that's kind of tough to do, seriously. I mean, if you're like me, you know, an old guy, he looks at me and says, geez, you should be dead. But, you know, and again, just put yourselves in their shoes and we'll get there. So again, 3 coaches in the coaches area. Enough with the entourage thing. What just cracks me up are the moms. It gets hot at the jamboree or hot over here, and they've got their little cooler full of towels, and they've got their little fancy fan with the mister thing. None of that. Right? We don't want any of that. 3 coaches in the box, that's it. The other thing that I ask you to work with your parents, you know, because we've stressed it before, are these parents that love to take pictures, right? I'm all for pictures. They should not be in your bench area. No, I don't want them there. Nothing but trouble happens once you get those guys. The other thing, too, is tell your parents they're not taking pictures on the end line. They need to take their pictures over here. I don't care if the sun's in their eyes. That's not my problem. My problem is a safety issue. These guys get hit with a ball. That's my problem. I don't want them over here. I want them over here. I don't want them here. I want them here. Help me help you. Again, if you talk to your parents who's got the monopod and they just sit there, right here, because that's where little Johnny plays all the time, we're not going to have that. He needs to be over here on this side, and take those pictures all you want. I don't care. Not over here. We're not going to have it. Okay? So again, help me help you. More the merrier is not good. So we're not having Johnny's big brother who happens to play varsity at whatever high school it is, and him and all his buddies are going to come in and start coaching and helping. No, you get 3 guys in there, that's it. Here's a rule right here too, is it's 10v10 for all the age group levels. We don't play 7-on-7, everything's 10-on-10. You can play legally with 8 players. If the other team chooses to play with 8, great. If they choose to play with 10, they can play with 10. You've got to have a legally equipped goaltender, right? And we'll get into what they need to wear. But again, if there's 8 players, you can play, and the game will get recorded, and if the team with 8 win the game, good for them. If they lose the game, okay, that's what happens. And it's going to start, on the time of the game when it's supposed to start. We're not waiting because you just got a call that, they got held up at the stoplight. They'll be here in 5 minutes. If you don't have enough players, we're not waiting. Again, we're on a time frame. We've got to get all the games in. So what happens here is if you have less than 8 to start with, it's a forfeit. What we've instructed our officials is they'll stay there and they'll officiate that game because you're paying them. They're not going to roll out to Starbucks. So if you and the other coach say, you know what, we're going to scrimmage now. We don't have a goalie. We're going to put a trash can. We're going to flip the goals or whatever. They'll stay there and they'll officiate the game. Okay? If you guys want to have an inter-team scrimmage or whatever, and you want the referee to stay there, they'll stay there. If they bolt, let me know, because we've told them they're required to stay there and work that scrimmage game because you've paid for them. And if you want them there to help you run a game or whatever, fine. They shouldn't just hightail it out and say, great, I can go, do whatever because now I've got an hour break and I'm getting whatever they get paid. If there's a kid that's hurt and he's laying inside the substitution box, we're not starting the game, right? If he's in the substitution box and they're giving him medical attention and he's not moved out of there, that's part of the field, right? We're not starting that game until he is gone. I mean, the kid that was at the Regis Kent game, he was down there for, I bet, a good half hour. I mean, one of the officials was a paramedic. There was an EMT there. One of the parents was a doctor, and they're all dealing with him before the fire department and the paramedics and the ambulance showed up. So, yeah, again, it's not a gotcha thing. If somebody needs attention over there, great. They're not out there looking for trouble. But again, if you've got Billy and Susie and Mary and everybody else over there, no, we're not going to have that. But again, if we get to a point where he's on the ground now for 45 minutes and the game's up, it's over. Because we've got to get to the next one, but the clock will stop. The MCR rule is back in effect. It's 4 goals. And again, it applies to every age group level except U15 Red. U15 Red is basically played under the high school rules, and U13 Red, so again, they can waive the modified competition rule. So basically what that is, if there's more than a full 4-goal lead, the trailing team gets the face-off, or there is no face-off. They take possession of the ball at the center X. The trailing head coach can waive that if he wants. Once the goal differential becomes 3 or less, then it goes back to a regular face-off. The exception is irrespective of the MCR rule, every quarter will face off. The only exception then is if it's extra man and you carry possession, you're going to keep possession on the opposite side of the field in the same place you had the ball, the time before. So again, trailing coach can waive the MCR if they want. Any questions on the MCR rule?
Will the game be called if there's a 10-goal lead?
Will the game be called if there's a 10-goal lead? I don't think so. Okay. This is the mercy rule right here. Okay, so the field dimensions again, because we play in all sorts of different parks, as close to possible of a regulation lacrosse field. Certainly modifications can happen. You guys all know what the the rules are for the equipment, so we're not going to beat that like a dead horse. But here's again, help me help you. I must not feed my own children because I get these mouth guards back. I can't tell you how many times I buy these things a year. And it pisses me off because they're expensive and they eat them. So if your kids got this kind of stuff, make sure they go get another one, right? Again, it's not a gotcha thing. I'm going to send the kids off the field, and that's what we told our officials and send them back out with a real mouth guard. So have your clubs, buy some, but this is not good. The other things that aren't good is when they, chop them off, they've got to cover all their teeth. The rules say that they have to cover either the lower or the upper, because now they've got, some of the mouth guards that go on the bottom. And past rules, you couldn't have a bottom mouth guard, now you can. They just have to cover either the upper or the lower teeth. Again, these are all part of the, concussion prevention, but, make sure they don't look like a chewed up dog toy. The only other thing that we'll talk about here really has to do with the arm pads. For goalies in the U.S. lacrosse guidelines, it basically says that goaltenders in the youth need to wear arm pads. The CYLA leadership agreed that the arm pads are optional, so your goaltenders don't have to wear arm pads. If they want to, no big deal. They don't. I would highly recommend that your kids wear a cup. There's so many kids out there that don't wear them. I mean, even at the high school level, make sure that they wear a cup, because you certainly don't want to lose a testicle. That's a really bad day. Goalies can wear shin guards if they want. I mean, again, it's up to you. If I'm the coach, I'm not having them in a shin guard, because I think it just breeds bad habits. But, that's me. But yeah, shin guards, they can wear them if they want them. But, I would recommend from a coaching perspective not to use them. Any other questions?
Scott, on the mouth guard,
yeah.
the custom with no strap, is that all right, or does it have to be attached?
They don't have to be attached. Yeah, they can't be white or clear. Any other color is fine. And again, I'm going to assume that mouth guard came out in play, and we're going to ask them to put it back in. Again, I'm trying to avoid a situation that happened last year where there was some competitive game and some kid, had a dangling mouth guard and they banged him for a 1 minute, penalty for equipment violation. Really? You can't just ask that kid to put it back in. We're going to ask those kids to put them back in. I mean, even if the thing that's sitting up here and he comes out 5 times, like, come on, help me, help you. And that's probably when I'm going to walk over. I've instructed my officials, walk over and talk to these, hey, look, you know what, number 15 just doesn't get this mouth guard thing. Can you help us? And again, what I ask the other coaches at the other sessions I've done is have them wear these mouth guards in practice, so they get used to them. If they don't wear them in practice, then they're never going to wear them in the game. Like I said, we're not going to be the Helen Keller miracle workers. The other thing that I see all the time is, the old fish hook thing where they got half in and half out. Again, help me, help you. Put them in. I mean, yesterday in the scrimmage that I did, I probably asked the same kid 5 times, can you do me a favor? Put the mouth guard in. Can you do me a favor? Button your chin strap. He doesn't like to have his chin strap buttoned. Again, it's a safety issue, right? If that kid gets blown up and one thing's off and his helmet comes off, that's not a good thing. They put 4 points to strap the chin strap on for a reason. Help your kids. Make sure they wear their equipment properly.